Glacier National Park is known as the hiking park because there are so many miles of trail. I think there are 700 miles of trails there.
Wow. We only have like 699 to go.
We did a couple good ones.
We have.
The signature hike is considered the Highline Trail, and we did that. Mm-hmm. And there are parts that are not easy.
It's a little scary.
I'm not scared if I don't look to the left. I'm just looking down so I don't trip, and to the right. I'm good.
Today we're going to go over 8 things you should know if you hike the Highline Trail. Count them, 8 of them. All right, here we go. Yeah, I think there are more than 60 day hikes in Glacier National Park. Mm-hmm. As I mentioned, more than 700 miles of trails. And we've done a couple of them, I think considered one of the top 2 or 3 hikes. And we're going to talk about one of them today, and that's the Highline Trail.
Yeah, I love that one. I didn't want to go, but I went.
Yeah. Oh, you didn't want to do that, did you?
Uh-uh.
Why didn't you want to do it?
Well, it looked more intimidating to me.
Yeah. There are parts that are intimidating.
Yeah. But after doing it, it was like, yes.
Yeah. All right. Here's tip number 1, the best time to hike the Highline Trail, and that's between June and October. Mm-hmm. Of course, that's when the Going to the Sun road is open. It doesn't open until usually late June, sometimes early July, because
it's snow.
They get so much snow.
So much snow.
Right. So, and it's the best time to do it for us was probably July, August, really.
We went in August, and we still got flurries.
Right.
We got a little bit of everything. That's true.
So it helps to have that Going to the Sun road, and that is amazing road.
Beautiful.
50 miles long, and it goes from east to west, west to east.
If you haven't done it, or if you haven't seen it, look it up. Well, we're going to show it to you.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, that's awesome there. So and here's another tip. Tip number 2, plan ahead when you hike this, because the hike begins at Logan Pass, and Logan Pass is the highest point of the Going to the Sun road, like 6,600 feet there. And it's very popular, and it gets very crowded.
Yeah, I thought he was exaggerating. He wasn't. We got there
on
really
what?
early. On how crowded it gets.
Right.
You can't find a parking spot. And then if you don't get there early, you have to park down the hill, like when I talk, like the mountain.
And that means you have to hike before you even get to the hike.
Right. And we saw a lot of people doing that.
Right. You don't want to do that. Or you're turned away and think, I can't do it today. I have to do it another day. Yeah. So, I mean, there are a lot of parking spots up there at the Logan Pass. That's where the visitor center is. But in the peak season, probably July and August, it gets crowded. It gets full by 7 o'clock sometimes. 7 o'clock. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's where you park for this Highline Trail. And in order to avoid having to drive an hour and a half, 2 hours to get there, because you have to get there at 7, you'd have to get up at 4 in the morning, you want to camp close by.
Mm-hmm. And we did.
So you have to plan ahead. And we camped at a place called Rising Sun.
Yeah, that was kind of a cool one.
I like that.
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah, we came from the mini Glacier area, and that was about an hour away. You have to go, that's east of there and then north, and then come back into the park to get to mini Glacier. Great camp area, and we did some hiking there, and we'll do another podcast on that. But I figured out it would be at least an hour drive to get to Logan Pass.
Right. And from where we were at, it was, 20 minutes?
20 minutes,
yeah.
12 miles, 20 minutes from Rising Sun.
Right.
So, and there are other ones there. There's St. Mary Campground as well, and that's about 30 minutes away. Mm-hmm. That's further east on Going to the Sun Road.
Was that one, the one that we stayed at, was that when you had to have a reservation? Or was that first come, first serve?
Which one, Rising Sun?
Yeah.
I think that was first come, first serve.
I think it was.
Right. But many of them are reservation.
Right.
And of course,
it was great.
If you're coming from the west, which we started our trip on the west, we got Fish Creek, we've got that's where Lake McDonald is, and you've got Apgar Campground. Those are further away too.
Yeah, that seems far.
That could be a 45 to an hour drive from there
with traffic.
Right.
There's going to be traffic, especially coming up from that.
And you have to look at the road closures as well, because remember when we were there, you couldn't do that because at a certain time they opened up the road. They were working on the road like 10 p.m. to 6 a.m.
Right, they were.
So that means you would have had to get to a certain point to get to Logan Pass starting at 6 a.m. So by the time you get there, the parking lot is full.
Mark's a planner.
All right. So tip number 2, plan ahead. And also have a backup plan. That's tip number 3.
Yeah, it was a good thing we did. A really good thing we did.
Because, the first morning that we left our campground, Rising Sun, we got there plenty of time, 6 a.m. to get a parking spot. We were all ready to take the hike.
And Mark goes, look out the window.
Okay. This is where we were going to hike
You can't see
this
it.
morning along the Highline trail for like 8 miles up. And you can't see anything. But the visibility was like
terrible.
horrible,
Yeah.
horrible, especially along the trail. And we thought, well, there were people that were taking the hike. And I'm thinking the first part, and we'll talk about this in a moment, the first part of this hike is treacherous.
It is. You have to make sure you can see. Plus, you want to see because of how beautiful it is.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So we were thinking, do we take this hike? We waited maybe an hour or so for it to clear up, and it never cleared up.
No, it got worse.
Right, it got worse. But right along the visitor center, it wasn't so bad. So the backup plan was to take another hike.
Yeah.
And we took a hike right there at Logan's Pass, another hike called to Hidden Lake.
No, it's easy, and it was pretty, and there was lots of wildlife. And
Right,
that was
right.
good.
I mean, in that, it starts out from the visitor center, and it goes like on a boardwalk for a while, and there's some steps up, very easy.
It's a flower hike.
there. And then, and we couldn't make it all the way to Hidden Lake, though.
No, because there was a grizzly bear and 2 cubs that was seen way too up close for a lot of people, I guess, at the visitor center.
Right before we got there, that happened, and so they closed it off, and I think it has to have no sightings of bears for 3 days. That's
Right.
what it was, 3 days
Right.
before they can open it back up. So we could go as far as the overlook,
Right.
looking over Hidden Lake, which was gorgeous.
It
Nice
was.
hike.
Great
Yeah.
hike.
Yeah, and we saw, what did we see?
We
Bighorn
saw
sheep.
Bighorn sheep were up there, and it was the bighorn sheep that they were the grizzly bear was actually chasing down the hill a few days before us that the ranger told us about, chasing, showing her babies how
Teaching the babies how to hunt.
to hunt. Can you imagine seeing
And
those?
I'd love to have been there to see.
Oh my
there were people watching that happen
I
there.
know, scary.
Okay.
It's great.
All right. So, and also here's another tip. What are we at? Number 4 here. Go with the flow.
Yeah.
Okay. Go with the flow. Enjoy the moment, whatever happens, because you never know. The weather is fickle. So go with the flow. Don't stress if your plans get blown out,
See.
because it got blown out.
He doesn't even follow his own rules. Mark's like my dad when we used to ski. He would go crazy if the day was going to be a weather day, bad weather day.
Yeah. Tomorrow's forecast is supposed to be sunny. So we're going to forget about our hike today, because on this hike, the whole idea is to be able to see everything. And if it's socked in, that's no fun, right?
Right.
Do you agree with me?
You're missing the most important part.
What's going on?
He woke me up at 5:30.
Okay. Well, 5:30 tomorrow. Right.
I have bags under my eyes.
Yeah.
And I get up
Look
here.
at us.
I get up here and it's freezing, so I have to put on my beanie. So, I mean, I'm serious. It's freezing.
We'll be able to see her in the yellow.
I like my yellow. I
Yeah.
don't care.
Yeah. All right. Alarm
I don't care what I
5:30.
look like.
5:30 tomorrow. We'll give it another try. We did enjoy a beautiful sunrise that morning that
Yeah.
we couldn't hike the Highline.
Well, with the clouds and everything, remember?
Oh my gosh, it was quite magical,
Yeah.
wasn't it? So go with the flow. Okay, let's talk about the best way to hike the Highline.
Yeah.
I did a lot of research on this beforehand,
Yeah.
and there are basically two ways to do this from Logan Pass. You can do a round trip from Logan Pass, and you go up to the Granite Park Chalet and come back, and that's about 16 miles.
It's long.
Yeah, it's a long hike, okay?
Yeah.
So you go there and then come back 16 miles. Or you can go up to Granite Park Chalet and then go down to what's called the Loop, which is, it takes about 4 miles off the hike. You go down to the Loop, which is a shuttle stop on the Going to the Sun Road, and then that takes you back to your car in Logan Pass. But everything I had read before that was, don't do that.
Right.
Because it was, first of all, it was so steep and bad on your legs, and also the scenery
Right.
was ugly.
It was fine.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I was going to do the round trip.
I know. And then
Right.
I said, why don't we just try it? Why don't we just try? It's cheating. I'm so glad we cheated. Right?
Well, yeah, because we got up there, and I think we were going to do the round trip, and then you talked to a guy with his kids,
Right.
and they were going to go down to the Loop.
Yeah. I think the kids were complaining.
Right. They didn't want to go
They didn't want to go back the same way they came.
the same way, and you want to see something different.
I do.
Right.
I like doing that. So
So we went down, and it cut 4 miles off, and it's a good thing we did that. Mm-hmm. Why is that?
well, because we got in a torrential downpour,
Right as we were finishing our hike.
thunder, lightning. It was just. It would have been horrible to be stuck up on that mountain.
We would have
Really?
been on that mountain going
wind.
on. We're going to show you here the treacherous, the ledge there. And we would have been going on that for 2 hours in that
In the
bad
rain.
weather.
That would have freaked me out.
So our advice, even though a lot of the research is to do the round trip, which is roughly 15, 16 miles, but go to Granite Park Chalet and then go to the Loop, and that cuts like 3 or 4 miles off your route. And the scenery wasn't that bad at all.
No, you're in the mountains.
It was different. It wasn't that bad there.
It was different.
Okay. Now, there are some danger zones. There are some danger zones on this hike that you need to be aware of there. And here's another tip there. You remember that first section, right when we started the hike?
Yeah.
Yes, they have a cable system all the way, so you can hold on to the cable if you need to. That's comforting. I feel so much better now.
Why don't you look where you're going? It's just right off the bat within maybe a quarter mile of the start of the hike there at Logan Pass. You're along a sheer granite cliff. It's called the Garden Wall. And this is like you're walking along the Continental Divide of the country there. And it's only like a path of like sometimes just 4 or 5 feet with a sheer granite cliff on your right and that sheer drop off like 100, 200 feet down to the going to the Sun Road to your left. So if you have a fear of heights,
Don't go. No.
well, I mean,
You know.
a lot of people, they won't do that because of that.
Honestly, I'm gonna hug it. I'm gonna hug it the whole way. It goes pretty far, Mark. If you look all the way around. Started the morning with no coffee, no breakfast, just a power bar, because I don't want to have to unload anything later on my hike. I'm prissy like that. Just lots of water. Liquid IVs. Works good.
Good.
I'm not scared if I don't look to the left. I'm just looking down so I don't trip, and to the right. I'm good. I just don't want the wind to whip up. I guess at least if I fell, you guys could find me in my yellow jacket, right?
It only goes for like, I think like a third of a mile, but it seems longer than that.
It does seem longer than that.
Right, but you have that cable to hang on to, and that helps. So if you've got a fear of heights, may have to consider that. Here's another tip
Got
there.
a twitch.
and a twitch, yeah. And don't do it blindfolded.
Right.
And look where you're going there. But if you don't have a fear of heights, you don't want to do the 16 or 12 mile hike. You can do this portion of it for just a mile or two, and then come back to your car.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And the scenery is gorgeous.
Yeah. If you just want to go and do
Right.
a little bit, you can always just do a little bit.
Right. And then also there's some slippery spots on this, and you came across some of those there with the little mini waterfalls.
Yeah, that's normal. It's called Glacier National Park.
It's just slippery.
Yeah, the glaciers are melting.
It's true.
Right?
Oh.
I'm feeling a little insecure. It's slippery, and I don't want to get my feet wet because it's going to be a really long day, and it's cold out. I'm going to get a little wet because the waterfall is going to get me.
We have some bonus tips now. Okay. Look for places to sing along this hike.
Not kidding.
Well, because it kind of reminds you remember the movie Sound of Music?
I'm not kidding. I literally said to Mark, I turned and I started singing. The hills are alive with the sound. Oh, stop it. Of music. I know, I can't sing, but literally, I can't do it. Okay, I'll do it. Stop.
Okay, go.
The hills are alive with the sound of music.
Don't quit your day job as a realtor or night job, whatever you do. Okay.
I don't have a night job, Mark.
Okay. Okay. I have the
You have a
night
night
job.
job.
Okay. Okay. But, you're out there kind of like by yourself. You think you're by yourself. So you're uninhibited and just build it
Beautiful.
out.
Unbelievable how beautiful it is.
Yeah. All right. And also another bonus tip here is there is some cell phone coverage. in
There
there.
is. All of a sudden, my phone
most
was
of the
like,
park, there's nothing.
ping.
Right.
Oh, here it comes. Here it comes.
I hear it.
Stop
Tommy.
what you're doing.
Right. We're at the top, the pinnacle almost here,
Sweating
and
the
you
house.
hear
I
the
got a ping.
pinging.
It was great. It was kind of fun.
Right. Right.
You
So
shouldn't
you're-
have your cell phone with you, but I'm a realtor.
Yeah.
I have to.
Also, another bonus tip here: bring bear spray.
Yeah.
You should always bear spray. Always have it in Glacier National Park.
My head is on a swivel right now.
And I wear bells.
Right, you did, didn't you?
I do.
And we had the bear spray.
Yeah.
Especially in that from the Granite Park Chalet down to the Loop. Notorious for grizzly bears and bears there.
I was paranoid. I was. Everywhere you look, you think you're going to see something. But
Right.
but honestly, I just told somebody the other day how many bears we saw on that trip.
Oh, yeah.
It was and
Almost every day we saw a bear, a black bear or
Or a
grizzly
grizzly.
bear. Well, what did I read? There are 600 black bears, 300 grizzlies in Glacier National Park.
a lot.
A lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it felt like we saw a lot of them.
Yeah.
And we'll tell a story about a couple of them in just a moment here. And here's a photo tip here. A lot of people, when they hike, they want a clear, sunny day.
Right. Right.
Of course, you don't want bad weather.
Right.
But I like photography. I take pictures, and I think clouds add drama
Some
and
clouds.
depth.
Yeah, for
Right.
sure. Mm-hmm.
And we had some clouds the next day when we took the hike. It adds drama and depth to your pictures,
Yeah.
your videos.
For sure. For sure.
So that was always nice here. Okay. And here's another tip. Don't forget to savor the moment here. The views are spectacular. Stop, look around, enjoy the moment.
What do you say to me whenever I'm looking at my phone?
Right. Look up.
Get so mad at me.
Right. You can look at your phone later.
I know. No, he's right.
Right. Look around you. I mean, you don't see this at home.
In Oklahoma?
Cold.
You don't see it practically anywhere, okay? Some of the views are the most spectacular in the country.
I say in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
gorgeous.
Savor the moment there. All right. And also know the history of your hike. There's a history to this hike here. First of all, let's talk about the Granite Park Chalet. And that's where your hike goes to. And these are backcountry chalets that were built by the railroad.
The early 1900s?
Yeah, 1915 for backcountry hikers. And not all the structures are still there, but some are still there. And you go up there, and they don't have too many amenities, do they?
No. They did have, like, I'm not going to say they had like a great toilet, but they did.
But you were excited about that, weren't you?
Yes.
I'm so happy right now. You know why?
You have service.
Now, they have toilets.
I have a bonus tip if you have to go pee in the woods.
Okay. All right, let's hear it.
So this thing is called Go Girl.
Okay.
And you just use it so
Did you use it on that?
girls can pee.
You didn't use it on that
I didn't use
one.
it on that, but
you've used it.
Oh, yeah, I carry it in
Right.
my backpack.
Right.
Yeah.
You always have it, just in case.
Hey,
Right. But the Granite Park Chalets, and you can stay there overnight.
I know.
With a reservation. I didn't think that you would want to do that.
Yeah, but
because there's no electricity, no water, no restaurant, no spa,
it's indoors,
and it's
though.
way up there.
But it was so scary. We, thinking that there would be grizzly bears coming all around. I would totally go back, and I would make us do it. Here's the thing, though. You have to hike there, spend the night,
Right.
and then hike all the way down.
Right, and spend the night, and it's dark.
It's dark.
I mean, it's dark. You mentioned grizzlies. Okay, here's another history of that, and I'm going to mention a book that you should, if you're going to take this hike. It's called Night of the Grizzlies, and read that or listen to it.
Listen to it, yeah.
We listen to it, audible.com. We listen to books, and I made her listen to this one, and you were reluctant at first.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I didn't think it'd be that good. It was so good. So good. Especially if you know you're going to be taking the hike.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So we listened to that for several evenings in the car before this hike, and you got hooked on that.
I was hooked. Yeah.
Right. So Night of the Grizzlies is a story about what happened in 1967, August 12th, 1967. A grizzly killed a young girl in her 20s named Julie.
She was camping.
Camping, maybe right here.
She was camping, and she did not go in a tent, for what I understood. So, I mean, maybe the tent wouldn't even matter.
It was there have never been a documented case of a grizzly killing somebody in this park until 1967. And there were two of them.
August 12th.
Same night, August 12th, 1967. One here at the near the chalet, and another about 7 miles away, same night, at Trout Lake.
Different grizzly bears.
A girl named Michelle.
It's so weird.
Prior to 1967, they treated grizzlies and bears totally different than they do today. In fact, and especially up here in the Granite Park Chalet, people would hike up there and spend the night, several nights. There would be park rangers up there giving displays and lectures, and there would be like a show every night that they would throw out the scraps, the food scraps, the bacon scraps for the grizzlies.
Attract them to come so that people could see
They would
them.
actually attract the grizzlies, and they would just throw out the garbage.
It changed the park management forever after that, and how they treated grizzlies.
Couldn't feed them anymore.
Right,
That's
pack
what they were-
in, pack out.
They were feeding.
No trace left behind.
Well,
So-
when you come up here, you're not supposed to have any food that has any aromatic smells. So
Yeah.
the only reason we know that is we talked to a ranger lady, and she said she was up here. You can spend the night up here if you make a reservation. It takes like 1.5 years to get in, and which I would have loved to do.
No,
Sorry.
you're good.
And she was up here. She brought in her camping food, which didn't smell at all. And another group came in, and they brought in steak. And sure enough, that night, there were 2 grizzly bears that came up that were walking around the chalet. And this was just this last month.
And if you see the chalet from like we did in person, you'll see where they would stand out on the balcony and they would watch the bears down below.
Right. It would be a show because the bears would be fighting over the trash. And people would applaud and be like, okay, great. We'll see you tomorrow night.
Show's over.
Right. And then people would, those that couldn't sleep inside because there wasn't enough room.
This is the part I can't believe.
Would sleep outside, under the stars, away from the chalet, down a ways, maybe a half a mile away.
There was a campground
There'd be
down
a campground down there.
All right, that's where the grizzly killed the girl 55 years ago this month, the Granite Park Campground.
There were 2 grizzly attacks, one there and one a few miles away, 2 separate attacks that killed 2 young women.
Right. Just dragged them out of their sleeping bag. Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
And so
they heard the screams and
yeah.
Right. What was that?
There goes,
what was that? It couldn't have been a grizzly, could it?
There goes Susie.
So who do you blame for that? Well, you blame the park rangers for that.
100%.
Because back then they allowed that to happen.
Right. Well, and remember, we were staying at the Rising Sun campground, and we came back, and there were tons of rangers around, and it was because there was a grizzly bear that was walking through our campground.
Right.
And they made all the people that were in tents that day, when they were coming back from their big hikes, can't pick up their tent, and they had to leave.
Right. And we were in a camper van, so we were fine.
We were fine.
But they were all over the place as far as the park rangers and employees. So
it just shows the difference.
Oh my gosh.
Nowadays. Yeah.
But 55 years ago.
Yeah, it was a show.
It was a show.
They didn't think that they would attack people.
Who would have thought that, right? Right. So that book called Night of the Grizzlies.
It's worth it.
It is worth it,
Yeah.
even if you're not going to go up to Glacier National Park and hike the Highline Trail.
Great for the imagination.
Right. Yeah. So those are our tips for hiking the Highline in Glacier National Park. One of the highlights of our trip.
Yep, it was.
And we'll be back.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, we're definitely going back. There's lots more to hike. That's why.
We hope you've enjoyed our podcast and thank you for spending your time with us. We'll see you next time for another episode of Let's Talk.